So we have some tragedy coming out of Punta Cana. And for me, it's especially heartbreaking because the person was a fellow traveler and she was so young and also with such a bright future. And I think more than anything, it's especially heartbreaking because this incident could have been so easily avoided. I've been following this story for the past couple days, and honestly, I'm shocked about some of the facts and things that are being withheld from the people as far as the media and government, particularly about Riu Republica, the type of hotel it is, the type of people that go there, and basically the overall ecosystem there. Also, the beach at Riu Republica is particularly interesting. It's very different from its neighbors just next door. I'm going to show you that and kind of talk about some of the things that potentially could have happened and also some of the things that would have lured me to the beach at 4 a.m. Now, before I go any further, I want to be very clear about this. I have no involvement in the case whatsoever. I know nothing besides what has been reported or what hasn't been reported. Also, I make no allegations or aspersions upon anyone. These are just my humble opinions. I will speculate at the end about what I think happened and why this happened at Riu Republica. But again, these are just my opinions and my opinions alone. For those of you that don't know me, my name is James. On this channel, I basically scour the world for the best resorts and restaurants. I spend a ton of time in the Caribbean. Over just the past couple of years, I've been in Punta Cana for 6 months alone. Over that time, I've stayed at 30 different all-inclusive resorts. I've stayed at every Riu in Punta Cana, and one of my most famous videos is of Riu Republica, unfortunately, where this incident happened. A lot of people ask me, how dangerous is Punta Cana? With 4 million United States visitors annually and 7 million internationally each year, incidents like this are extremely rare. Literally 1 in a million. So generally speaking, it's extremely safe. In fact, much safer than a lot of places in America. But it's important to remember, just because you take a jumbo jet down there and the hotel is very Americanized and the menu is in English and everyone speaks English and the entertainment is in English, you're not in America. The tentacles of evil and desperation are close, much closer than people think. And oftentimes they're just right on the other side of the property line. Now I'm going to come right out and say it. Riu Republica is the craziest party resort in Punta Cana. It's in a league of its own. It probably has slots number 1, 2, and 3. It is the craziest party hotel that you can go to. By no means is it a 5-star hotel or even a 4-star hotel. When I stayed there, the air conditioning was quote unquote working, but it was barely even on. The food is bad. The drinks are bad, but people don't go there for that reason. It is wildly popular because it is literally wild. It attracts people from all over North and South America, very young people who are there to party 24/7. It is a high energy hotel, and that is putting it very mildly. It is commonplace to see people partying there until 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. In fact, when I was there, I witnessed people who were partying for days straight, which is not humanly possible, if you get what I'm saying. Needless to say, this is not the resort for the innocent or inexperienced. Not in life, not in travel, not in anything. For those of you that watch my videos, what is my number 1 rule when I talk about the Dominican Republic, Mexico, or Jamaica? It is to never leave the resort. Now, my prowess and experience allows me to break my own rules from time to time, but for the non-pro traveler, that rule remains steadfast. Now, the problem with Riu Republica and really every other resort in Mexico and Jamaica, none of them have defined property boundaries. There's no red line that says resort ends here. And also, just like Mexico, Jamaica, and pretty much every nation that has beaches, the resorts themselves are private property, but the beaches are public property. And oftentimes the lines and boundaries are murky at best. And even though the resorts essentially own the entire coastline, locals have much easier access to the beach than people think. There are trails that are only known to them, and plus they have access via boat. Okay, let's get to the beach. The Riu Republica beach is particularly interesting. And before I get to that, I want to show you the two properties neighboring it and what their beaches look like. First, let's take a look at Hard Rock. The transition from resort to beach is obvious, and also notice that Hard Rock's beach is sweeping, sprawling, vast, and wide open. There's very little palm tree cover, and there are easy lines of sight to the beach, even from very long distances. And here's another neighboring property, Royalton, Punta Cana. Notice how this beach is close to the rest of the property. It's pretty much nestled among it. It's much more connected and intimate. Now take a look at Riu Republica's beach. Notice how much more separated it is from the rest of the property. To access the Riu Republica beach, one must walk a considerable distance past the last official place of infrastructure, which is the very last pool. And after walking a decent amount of steps through the greenery, the beach finally opens up. But it does so at least 100 yards, if not more, from the last pool and several hundred yards from the closest room. Notice how the increased cultivation obscures sight and sound. During the day, guests love to lounge intermingled among these trees, as the vast cover provides protection from the intense Caribbean sun, and the remote area offers solace from the crazy shenanigans of the property. But at dark, that distance and that cover could provide a lot of camouflage to any sinister elements that could be lurking. So this is where I do some speculation. What would lure me to the beach at 4 o'clock in the morning at Riu Republica? Absolutely nothing. Not a thing, at least in these days. If I was, let's say, 25 and I was a spring breaker at Riu Republica, I could probably think of a couple things. I think firstly would be a party. Secondly would be a person, probably a lady I was extremely interested in. And the last one is a bit of a wild card, but I would say a transaction. Could be a pack of cigarettes, could be me getting my money to an excursion person super early to reserve my spot. It could be buying some water. I know that Riu Republica had some outages in terms of water and in terms of electricity, but that would have to be a pretty enterprising beach vendor selling water at 4 a.m. I would think that if I was suffering from a lack of electricity or water, I'd want to stay as close to infrastructure as possible and not be isolated on the beach. Also, if I was partying, I would want to stay closer to the hotel. That's where the 24/7 sports bar is. That's the only place with access to alcohol and food and bathrooms. And if I was going to meet a person, I would just meet in the lobby bar or that person's room or my room. I wouldn't go to the beach. So there's some real interesting stuff that's going on there, but those are the only three things that would lure me to the beach as a 20-something in Punta Cana. Now, the news narrative is starting to shift. They're starting to blame the hotel. And again, I don't have any of the facts. The only way I could see the hotel being directly responsible is if they had an employee or a policy that directly led to this incident. Personally, I've never been warned about a beach when I've checked into these all-inclusives in any country, anywhere. I've never had someone say, don't go to the beach at night. It's pretty, honestly, it's pretty obvious. You just don't do it. Also, a lot of people are talking about how terrible the conditions are at Riu Republica. I've stayed there. The food is terrible. The drinks are terrible. Even when the air conditioning was working, it wasn't. That's not to downplay any of the outages that happened over this weekend that led to some less than desirable conditions. But the hotel is like $100, $200 a night. There's nowhere else 20, 21, 22, 18-year-olds can visit in Punta Cana and stay for a week and eat and drink all you want and party like crazy. So you can't have it all in life. It's a budget hotel. It's a crazy wild party hotel. That's why everybody goes there. The drowning to me never really makes sense. I grew up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. And for those of you that know about those smiley face drownings, athletic guys, young guys in their early 20s, 6 feet, 6'2", who would mysteriously be found in lakes and rivers in the middle of the winter. And apparently they just jumped in. There's some theories regarding that. I'm not going to go into them into this video, but I have a hard time believing that it was a drowning. I did see the waves over that weekend. There's been some videos posted on the internet. Honestly, if you've been to Punta Cana, those waves, at least that I saw, were not that rough. The waves in Barbaro can only get so rough. It's a very gentle area, Punta Cana. For those that have been to San Diego or anyone that's been to the West Coast anywhere, the waves in Punta Cana, generally speaking, are extremely docile. They're extremely gentle. Now, that's not to say that there wasn't a rogue wave that was extremely violent, but I just don't buy the drowning theory. If I had to guess, I would say foul play, just based off some of the witness statements that are coming out, and also the way that beach is kind of set up, and I don't know, the type of place that that area is. Again, my goal is to bring awareness to this topic so it never happens again. It's so easily avoided. Rule number 2 when you travel is to have the best time ever, to enjoy life, carpe diem. But rule number 1 is always protect yourselves at all times.